In this episode of the Kirk Miller Podcast, I just wanted to do something a little bit different today. That is, tell you in black and white what the foods are that I would eat to get ripped quicker. All right? I'm not going to paint over cracks here and tell you that this is, for me, sustainable year round. But if you ever want to put foot on the gas and really optimize your food quality and basically drop body fat quicker, these are the type of foods I would eat. I would typically focus on these foods if I was really, really trying to dial it in for a holiday. Maybe I had a shoot. So these are the type of foods, for example, I might have ate, a week, 2 weeks before a men's fitness shoot in the past. And I just know that if you eat these foods, you're going to let the process of getting in shape be a lot smoother than maybe what it currently is. All right. This isn't factoring in, for those of you who follow me for a little while, the Kirky Sunday specials, the couple of burgers and chips, the massive feeds basically you see me have at the weekend. These are just the foods that are my default, going across proteins, carbs, fats, veggies, etc. that I would eat if I'm trying to drop body fat quicker. All right. So I'm just going to shoot through them as sharply as possible. As I said, a little bit different today's podcast. I'm not going to elaborate too much on these. So if you are listening to this or watching this, if you're watching this on YouTube, then get a pen and paper and make some notes. Proteins. Really, really simply, I focus on egg whites, whole eggs, white fish, whether it be cod loin or my preferred choice, which is sea bass and fresh salmon. I do use also a whey isolate protein, just because I have less meals now, so that allows me to sort of top my protein up. But I would probably say if I was really, really being OCD and really wanted to optimize condition, I probably wouldn't even touch protein powder, a week before a shoot. I've just always found that, and this is extreme, don't forget, guys, listening to this, that if every calorie I put in my mouth is coming from solid, real food, I've just been in impeccable shape. I've been in my absolute best condition, all right? But there's nothing wrong with whey isolate if you chose to use that to top up your protein, okay? So those would be my 5 protein sources. The reason I favour these protein sources is they digest very, very well with my body, especially fish. 80% of my current protein intake across the week anyway comes from generally fish, eggs, whey isolate. I tend to eat obviously a bit more red meat at the weekend and possibly some chicken. But I just know that whenever I've eaten fish in particular, my body just digests the food smoother. Obviously, added benefit is, of course, as I have more energy. But remember, your body is a byproduct of what you digest and, don't excrete. So the more you can make your protein sources digestible, I just think naturally you'll move around more and I just feel less bloated, especially around my abs. Carbs, again, quite creature of habit with these things. Complex carbs I'm going to focus on first, and they are oats, white potatoes, white rice, and very rarely a sweet potato. I don't really like sweet potato that much, the taste of it. I prefer white potatoes, but these carbs respond really, really well to my body. I feel strong. I still feel that even if I'm really dropping calories a little bit, I'm trying to shave off that last bit more body fat. These are my preferred carbs of choice, because don't forget, when you're trying to drop body fat, okay, and you're in a little bit more of an aggressive deficit, you're still trying to optimize performance as best you can too. Because don't forget, when you're dropping body fat, the goal is to maintain as much size as possible, just so you don't look skinny, flat, and weak as piss in the gym. So for me, oats, white potatoes, I just feel really, really good off them. I do eat brown rice too, but I just generally find that I prefer the taste of white rice. And if you're getting plenty of fibre in your diet from other sources, then it doesn't really matter whether you have white or brown rice. Okay, so they're my preferred carb sources. Carbs from fruit that I have, I just basically minimise fruits that are very acidic. Okay, I prefer bananas, blueberries, raspberries, blackberries. I might have some strawberries too, but generally the darker fruits work really, really well. Kiwis aren't too bad too, but generally they're the ones I focus on. And again, with your bananas, you get a good amount of fibre, but they're my carb source I get from my fruit. Fats, and I think sometimes people neglect these when they're in a calorie deficit phase or they're trying to get leaner quicker. Especially as a man, you're trying to obviously optimize testosterone as much as possible. You're not going to do that without added fats. I know in my sort of mid-20s, I was drastically under eating fats. As a result, it can really affect your mood, which can be affected anyway when you're in calorie deficit. So make sure you're having at least 40 to 50 grams of fats, even if you're on a sort of medium to high carb diet. But the fat sources I prefer, avocado, fantastic source of fiber too. Does have a small amount of carbs in as well, but awesome fat. Very great for your digestive system too, or for me anyway. 1 calorie olive oil, 1 calorie coconut oil spray is fantastic too. So obviously it still sort of flavors your food because you need something to cook certain foods in. Cashew nuts, almonds as well. Just again, real, like no added sugar, no added salts or anything like that. Just like raw nuts. Okay. And then even though I don't eat these as much anymore, but peanut and almond butter with no added sugar, all right, and not excessive salt is key. All right. But real food is the common denominator with them again. All right. All I would say is if you are trying to put foot on the gas, and some of you listening to this might have like been drawn into this podcast episode by the title, I would only recommend being sort of this hardcore if you're really trying to have a massive accelerate month with your fat loss, or you just really want to make a big dent and just create even more discipline than maybe what you currently have just for a short period, all right? But I'll be very guarded with the fats I've just mentioned of over-consuming avocados because they can be quite high in calories, and almond and peanut butter especially, because it's so subjective when people say, oh, I'm having a tablespoon of almond butter, a tablespoon of peanut butter. I've saw clients in the past, the reason they've not been dropping fat is because they've had excessive peanut butter and almond butter on their spoon, which is more or less 2 or 3 tablespoons of that almond or peanut butter, which is hundreds of calories. Okay, so just be careful with them. Same with cashew nuts and almonds. I think fats in general, okay, they're phenomenal. They're essential, to hormone production and obviously mood, testosterone, etc. But you can very easily overconsume them, even though they're a good food. They can become very high in calories if you eat too many of them, all right? Spices, any really that do not have the word sugar in or are not too high in salt. Again, you're talking to obviously someone who, if I'm really trying to be an absolute fucking physical specimen at very, very rare periods throughout a year, yeah, I just try and avoid anything with the word sugar in, even down to my spices. A lot of it just... I think sometimes when I've done these periods, and anyone who's maybe got to this shape before can maybe relate to this, sometimes it's nice to have these periods where you are being supremely disciplined, maybe you are being extra strict with your food. Just I think you build a lot of like mental resilience and discipline when you have these little mini periods. And for me, I just like to really hone it in. Even with spices, I'm just really disciplined with them too. Okay, so I eat the ones I like, but I just know for me, optimizing body condition. So if you are trying to dial in your abs a little bit close to a summer, or just maintain, even stricter diet, perhaps even around a heavy social calendar. As I've said in a previous podcast, I pretty much eat as if I was doing a shoot if I have a heavy social calendar at weekends, during the summer period. So then I'd just make sure that nothing with the word added sugar is in my diet, okay? Even from down to spices. Vegetables, keep it really simple. I'll have asparagus, broccoli, spinach, kale. These are my preferred choices. I like them. Again, good sources of fiber, good variation. And I generally find like green veggies are just better for you. I think there's some veggies, even though they're not bad or wrong, but there's some veggies which are like they glamorize added sugar. They glamorize too much sugar. So I think if you're really like trying to be OCD and really take your condition to another level every now and then, I wouldn't be over consuming even too many tomatoes and things like that, because it's still sugar, even if it's natural sugars, so you just want to be guarded with that if you're really trying to optimize condition at certain periods. Okay. And just before I wanted to sort of end this shorter podcast with, my getting shredded rules, or, like my sort of principles, even I've just mentioned the foods that I eat, I still have certain principles on how to sort of put these together a little bit. But I suppose where I'm at now, like I'm nearly 39, I've been the guy that's prepped 5 meals a day, 6 meals a day, fucking weighed everything to the gram. If I'm ever really, really, really trying to like take my body to another level, because at the minute I'm outsourcing my evening meal, so even though it's healthy food, I don't know the exact calories going in, all right? Even though I control my first meal, my shake, etc. If I am trying to look absolutely on the money, that is the only time right now at this stage of my life I will take control of everything that's going in my mouth. I would not outsource it. I'd be weighing everything just for that short period, because I'm controlling the quantity and the quality of calories and the quality of protein, the quality of carbs, quality of fats. I make no secret about the fact that I don't penny pinch when it comes to the foods that I put in my mouth, whether it's high quality protein, high quality carbs, high quality fats and veggies, because your energy just feels fantastic. You'll keep more muscle tissue because you're keeping all the amino acids from your protein. If you've got cheap, shitty protein and cheap food quality, then you can get proteins that are like full of water and stuff. Then you might not be absorbing quite the amount of protein that packet might say. So try and focus on quality just as much. But when I'm trying to be on the money and take my condition, my body fat to an absolute new level, just for very short periods here and there across the year, or if I had a shoot, I take control of everything that goes in my mouth. I do not outsource it, because when I've done that before, I just found that the portions were a little bit subjective, the quality wasn't quite there, and when you are in a deeper calorie deficit, you're trying to optimize your enjoyment as best you can with food, and for me, higher quality, and you taking control of your portions is going to help you do that. Again, you just create a more predictable outcome, as I spoke about before, on the ways to manage your food, if you are taking control of your food during these short periods. I'm not saying do it all year round, but if you do want to have these periods where, I really want to put foot on the gas of my fat loss and I can control everything that's going in my mouth, then that's when I would say, prep your own food and really just focus on making sure you're buying top quality food. All right. And then just to conclude, I just wanted to chop through some sort of getting shredded rules. All right. And some people listening to this, you might be in your 40s and 50s going, cool, I have no desire to get shredded. All right. But these principles that I'll probably go through for my getting shredded rules will still benefit you in your day-to-day food management year round. Because ultimately, your body condition, body fat, right, and your body that you're currently walking around with, right, it's going to be a byproduct of how you manage your food across 7 days. It's going to be a byproduct of what you do with your food across 7 days, how you manage that, the averages. Make no mistake about it. If your body's not changing after a period of months or even weeks, it's because you're not probably eating correctly. Obviously, might be not training hard enough either, but a lot of the time, it's down to, just laziness with food, not enough attention to detail. So I'm going to share with you my getting shredded rules / principles, okay, from those food groups that I've just mentioned. I eat at least 300 grams of veggies, like minimum. I generally find when you are in a deeper calorie deficit, obviously hunger kicks in a little bit more. Anyone who says different is full of shit, all right? If you're trying to be in a calorie deficit and be very, very lean or ripped, you want to try and optimize fullness as much as possible, which another benefit of the foods I've just been through is you have more food volume per calorie. So, your food's going a little bit further, so it's filling you up a little bit more. But having 300 grams minimum of veggies spread throughout the day is going to help you, stay full too, because it's more fiber, okay? And fiber is going to help keep you fuller, especially in a deficit. The next one, I eat a minimum of 160 grams protein. It's quite often more, probably more, 170, 180, so it's closer to 1 pound per gram of body weight, 1 gram per pound of body weight, sorry. But crucial that you eat enough protein, especially when you're in a deeper calorie deficit, because otherwise you'll just lose muscle. So food quality in relation to your protein is massive, all right? And I eat at least 160 grams, if not a little bit more. Fiber, I eat at least 30 grams a day. I think a lot of the time when people are struggling with their fat loss, a lot of the time they're not eating enough fiber as well. Because remember, you need to digest food well in order to drop body fat. Because a lot of the time, if you feel bloated consistently, it may be a lack of water, it might be certain food that's not agreeing with you, but a lot of the time it's lack of fiber. No booze. These are just absolute non-negotiables if I'm trying to get fucking shredded. Don't touch booze, don't touch processed food. There's no snacking. Even though the temptation is to snack when you're trying to really dial it in for a holiday, wedding, significant event, shoot, whatever your thing is that you're training for. Snacking for me highlights that maybe your food management around that isn't on point, okay? And or you might be not managing your environment effectively, which is causing emotional triggers, okay? So you want to try and minimize stress as much as possible, especially if you're trying to avoid snacking. But I don't even think about it. It's no processed food, no sugar, no snacking and no booze. And the big one, and this has been like my big thing this year really, is no foods with added sugar. I think there's no two things that are going to work hand in hand to drop body fat quicker than eating no processed food, no added sugar. Right? If you've ever struggled with your weight management and not drop fat as quickly as you'd like, I can almost guarantee if I was looking at your food, it would have been down to eating too much processed food and too much added sugar. Very rarely do people binge on like lots of real food or lots of high quality protein. Most times when people go to shit with their food or they overconsume calories, it's processed food and foods with added sugar, generally carbs, snacks, sugars. Okay, all right. So eradicate them if you're trying to drop fat quicker. Next one, drink 4 litres of water. Again, sort of ties in with trying to maintain fullness, right? And you'll have more of an honest sort of evaluation of where your body condition's at, okay? Because sometimes when you're trying to drop body fat a little bit quicker, or you put foot on the gas for your fat loss, you can actually think that you're carrying more fat than maybe what you have just because you're not drinking enough water, all right? You need to keep water flushing through your body, okay? It helps food move around, don't forget. Ties in with your digestion. You can eat great food, great training, but if you're not having water to push that around and optimize your digestive system, you're going to struggle, okay? And obviously, even diversing slightly, when I'm getting close to the business end of a shoot, I will take my water up, and just technically not dehydrate, but just, I want my body to hold less water, so in order to do that, I drink more and then sort of slowly bring it down a touch. But I drink 4 litres of water, okay? Because don't forget, you're going to be more hungry, so the more you can optimize your water intake, the less likely you are to binge, when you're sort of being tested with a calorie deficit. And last two, of course, what do we do when it comes to eating out and trying to get ripped quicker? Everything is all real food. All real food. I don't fuck about with bread, sauces, dips. It's all real food, unless I'm leaning up rapidly. Where my body's just responded. I might have dropped a little bit more weight than what I wanted to. And if I needed like a sort of a refeed, then that's when you might have a little bit of bread. But generally speaking, if I'm trying to optimize condition, I would just eat. And I felt like I was a little bit flat, from obviously a little bit more extreme dieting. I would just simply eat more carbs on that refeed. I might have, I might have some red meat, for example, if I felt, I'm good with this. But even then, it'd be a leaner source of steak potentially. All right. But I always eat real food. Okay. Because the temptation when you're in a deficit is to eat shit and tell yourself, oh, cheat day, cheat meal, it's all good. It's not if you're trying to optimize condition, right? Just at the very business end. As I say, this is only just for short periods. And then just to follow on from that, I think it's absolutely crucial more than ever, even though I've banged down about this in previous episodes. If you are trying to be a bit more aggressive and put foot on the gas for your fat loss, right, it's even more essential if you have social things to think about, business meetings, etc., that you pre-plan, pre-pick social eating choices ahead of schedule. All right, because then you'll have time to adapt the rest of your food management if needed. Okay, because my life, and this might relate to you guys, is a little bit different now to when I was like in Coventry and I was eating 5-6 meals a day, and there wasn't as many nice restaurants to eat out. I didn't have as many business arrangements, for example, business meetings, and basic business growth during that period, I suppose. And to think about, but now I do. So you might have to factor in more restaurants more, even if I'm trying to get like shredded and drop fat quicker. I'm forward thinking even more, just because the leaner you get, the more you get tested emotionally, and the more cravings will start to kick in. Okay, so you have to forward think as much as possible. And then 3 questions from all the stuff I've been through today, and hopefully it was concise and I spoke very intensely and at speed. But 3 questions from my protein sources that I suggested. Which do you feel you need to eat more of if you're not dropping body fat as quickly as you want to? Number 2, which carb do you need to eat more of from my list? If you were to look at your carb sources, are they good quality, or maybe would you benefit from maybe swapping 1 or 2 of mine into your food management? Number 3, which fat do you need to include in your diet more if you've eradicated fats, all right? Because there's so much bullshit out there of previous years of like the high carb diet, take away all fats, or the fucking keto and the paleo diets and stuff, no carbs. Your body needs all of these nutrients, right? Number 1, of course, is your protein. You need to be at least roughly 1 gram per pound of your body weight. But you need carbs to perform. As I've said in previous episodes, like if you're in a calorie deficit phase, you still be trying to optimize strength as much as you can, just so you don't look skinny, flat, and drained as you're dropping body fat. Okay, and you still need fats for optimize your healthy testosterone and your hormone production, etc. Okay. They're essential nutrients, absolutely essential. But which maybe fat do you need to include more? And even though I haven't really planned to bring that up as a question, but maybe from your current proteins, fats, and carbs, which do you need to eat a little bit less from each of those 2? And I've just ended with a really simple quote. It's sort of my own. Real food is king. If you notice, the common denominator I've been through today is real food is fucking king. And honestly, you're going to make your health, right, the longevity of your health, you're going to make your fat loss journey smoother, quicker, and more pleasurable, because you're going to be able to eat more food if you eat more real food. You know, I'm friends with some great people, great physiques. The one thing we all have in common, 90% of our food, right, 80 is a fucking, even on a bad week, should be coming from real food, all right? And just watch how much better you look, how much better you feel by eating more real food. So I know it's a little bit different today, sort of chopped through it, but again, one of the reasons for this podcast is just tell you exactly what I do and how I think, you know, at different periods of the year. So I'm never off it. I'm always in shape year round, but what I'll share with you today is something that I may use a couple of times a year if I had a call saying, Kurt, you got a shoot, important shoot, it's for a project, and I just wanted to just test myself and just take the discipline with my food up a little bit more than it is around the year. So, okay, but thank you so much. Appreciate your takeaways as always. Thank you for your support. Please keep, you know, spreading the word with this podcast. I really do believe I'm doing my very best to add as much value as possible. I'm telling you the truth. I know it works. You know, there's so much horse shit out there, but what I tell you works, tried and trusted, and I guarantee if you implement it, your body will change quicker. Thank you so much, and I'll see you next time.